Hello and welcome to this month's virtual Make and Take, where we are going to explore computer science EDU reps. My name is Sarah Wood and I am an educational technology consultant for Kent ISD, and I'm including my contact information here, so if you have any questions as you are building throughout this Make and Take or questions after the fact, feel free to reach out to me. And as always, I like to give credit where credit is due. This virtual Make and Take idea was not my original idea. It came from the awesome ladies over at Gold EDU. So if you like this concept, I highly recommend going over and checking them out. And just an important reminder before we get started is that you will need to join the Google group for this virtual Make and Take series. And the reason why I have this set up this way is that this can allow you to securely access the files that are shared today, as well as edit them, which is the big part, as well as receive emails about upcoming Make and Takes and other information that I share from my blog or professional learning opportunities, but also to connect with like-minded educators. If you need to sign up for the Google group, if you're not already a part of that, head over to the link that is shared here and click on that Ask to Join group. I just ask that you have a little bit of patience and a little bit of grace with me and allow up to 24 hours for me to approve that group request. And then you should be able to have access to all previous conversations as well as upcoming conversations. If this is your first virtual Make and Take session, keep in mind that we've already held 3 different virtual Make and Take sessions, but you can go back and take a look at those at any time. We had our first one for Google Form headers, as well as Jamboard activators and then digital stickers last month. And then we have some coming up in January, February, March, April, and May if you are interested in participating in those as well. Our big concepts for our virtual Make and Take this month are going to be centered around those ever important what and whys. And we will be engaging our students in repetitive content-driven activities that is all centered around computer science. And the first week in December is also the Hour of Code. So many of the activities that you see here can actually be applied across a variety of content areas and grade levels. As always, I have a list of standards for you here so that if you are interested in doing this with your students, I have some My Text competencies that this would address, as well as your professional learning standards through the ISTE standards for educators. And before we actually really jump into our content for this virtual Make and Take, I would just like to point out that this is not just for technology or computer science teachers. This is really for each and every teacher. So if you looked at the title and are kind of skimming through and are going, yeah, I don't teach computer science, I'm not great with technology, so this isn't for me. And I have to say, this is exactly for you if you are not one of those people. So there is so much that you can learn through strategies, resources, and even maybe about technology itself or computer science. So I just ask for your patience and to hang with me and check out the examples later when we go into our making part, because I think you'll be very pleasantly surprised. So if you are new to the EDU Protocol world, prepare to have your mind blown. This is going to be an awesome experience, and you will probably think at the end, oh my goodness, where has this been all of my teaching career? Because it can really be a game changer in how you approach activities with your student. So you might be asking, what exactly is an EDU protocol? This is taken from the EDU Protocol Field Guide Book 1. This is their description of what an EDU protocol is. So consider this. You need to ship a wedding present to your nephew, and it just so happens the box is huge and heavy. You decide that the cheapest way to transport is by train. You buy the ticket and send it on its way. Every day, that train makes the same trip at the same time, only the train carries different cargo each trip. And really, EDU Protocols is just like that train carriage, staying the same. The content, much like the cargo, changes for each trip. So if that seems a lot and you want the kind of the TLDR, too long didn't read version, the format stays consistent while the content changes. So if that piqued your interest, I highly recommend getting the books, the Field Guidebook 1 and 2, as well as the math edition. Even if you aren't a math teacher, it can be a super valuable resource as far as different EDU protocols that you could work into your own content area. I personally have all three, and I'm constantly referencing them. So you might be saying to yourself, wait a second, the title of this is Computer Science EDU Reps, but you just explained EDU Protocols. I'm kind of confused. Let me answer that for you here. So let's talk about what an EDU Rep actually is. And so an EDU Rep, and this is based off that math edition of the EDU Protocol Field Guide, is a fast and easy lesson that helps students with skills. Even though it came from the math book, notice I did not say math in that description. And they promote confidence in students as they get familiar with content. But this is the part that I love, is that they really empower teachers to quickly and informatively assess students. And so I know this is something that teachers are constantly doing as they're walking around the room. And so using these reps or these protocols allow you to quickly and easily do that. And then they provide you with purposeful, data-driven instruction that really meets the individualized needs of each student. But the biggest things that these provide for students is repetition, repetition, and repetition, not only of the protocol itself, but of the content. And I know if this concept of EDU protocols or EDU reps is new to you, and you might be going, oh my goodness, this is December and I have zero cognitive space to take in anything new. Just kind of maybe keep it in the back of your mind as you're going through these and understand that new is messy, new is hard, but once you master or even get comfortable with these EDU protocols, you can apply these to any content area, any grade level. It's just kind of one of those handy tools that you have in your toolbox there because they can easily be modified. And just like when we learn something new, there might be a struggle at first. Students may also have that same struggle. So having that same grace and compassion for them and just saying, hey, we're both trying something new together. Let's make mistakes. Let's learn together. Let's fail forward. And a fun fact for you is that it takes about 10 repetitions for students to become masters at the task. So in this case, you are the student and I am the teacher. So keep in mind, it may take you 10 repetitions of trying a EDU protocol or an EDU rep for you to feel comfortable or a master at that task. And that is totally okay. So going back to the title of our session, Computer Science EDU Reps, notice I haven't really focused that much on the computer science aspect of what we're going to be doing. And that's because the computer science standards that we might be using to guide our instruction here can be applied to any content area. They can be applied to any K-12 grade level. That this is really something that should not be a standalone part of a curriculum. This is not, like I said, this is not just for that technology teacher or that computer science teacher. This is really for each and every. And I have to say, you will probably be surprised at how often you are actually integrating computer science standard into your current instruction just through the use of your vocabulary, how you're using technology tools, and you may not even realize it. So, as I said before, please just keep an open mind and take a look at the standards, scroll through for your grade level, and see what you discover in those standards. So I've kind of explained what an EDU protocol is, but I haven't shown you an example yet. So before we jump into our actual making part, I would like to show you an example. So this is something that would address the computer science standard that would fit in the grades 3 through 5 level, where you are using an iterative process to plan the development of a program by including others' perspectives and considering user preferences. So the EDU protocol that I'm going to use is Buka-Kucha. And what I love about this is that this is a very seamless way to integrate a computer science standard into an ELA classroom or an ELA lesson, or really anything that incorporates reading in the classroom, because it combines book talks and lit circles to book reports or to projects, anything where you're taking that literary element and translating it into a project or some sort of summary. And this also challenges students in finding multiple items that fit a theme. And much like I said before with the EDU reps, that's repetition, repetition, repetition. But these are also fast-paced protocols a lot of the time. So that if you're looking at this one in particular, this is something that you might do once weekly or monthly for students to develop fluency and not just the content, but also the edgy protocol. So just a quick explanation of how Bukakucha will work as an EDU protocol is that when students are reading a selected book or article, everyone is reading and then they stop at the same time. And this is regardless of wherever they are in their article or what page they are on in their book. And then they complete a 4-slide book report. And the great thing about the Bukakucha is that this allows the teacher to assess everyone in one period, but also encourages a culture of reading in the classroom. And that this really promotes a format that is easy for students to document their reading progress, for the teacher to follow along where the students are, but also help students analyze their own reading at a deeper level. So the theme that I selected for this example of Bukakucha is that we're going to focus on vocabulary. The first slide will always include the name of the book, the author, the illustrator, the student's name, and the number of the last page that they read. So for example, here, the book that I have is How to Code a Roller Coaster by Josh Funk. And this could also be an example for students to practice doing citations. And that the current page number that I am on, or the last page number that I read, is page 6. So the following 4 slides after this introductory slide will all focus around the theme. The theme that I chose is vocabulary. So then I will complete the slides that fit that theme. So for example, a vocabulary word that I learned was code. So I have a description of what that vocabulary word is, as well as an image to go along with it. And then I also included the second vocabulary word and the third vocabulary word. And you'll notice at the bottom, I'm also documenting what page I found that vocabulary word on. So you will notice that that was a really quick walkthrough of what that EDU protocol is. And once you have that template set up for students, that this rep will start becoming quicker for them to complete, and they can keep on adding to the same slide deck every time when they're working through that protocol, if you're going to have them use it for a week or a month, whatever time period you define ahead of time. But you will also notice that when I first introduced this, I started off with the standards. That is what was driving my EDU protocol. And then I created with Google Slides my activity. And then the part that I really can't show right now in this is the feedback part. And this is where students should be provided with immediate feedback from you. And Google Slides is great because you can just add comments on their slides, or they can share with a group. You can use a Google form to collect data and feedback on what they created. There's multiple ways to do that. But the important part is that their work is acknowledged and they're receiving feedback on what they can do to increase their fluency, increase their understanding, or maybe even provoke deeper thinking. So hopefully I've piqued a little bit of interest about what EDU protocols are and how you can work those EDU protocols into EDU reps where you're using those on a regular basis for students to become familiar with that protocol, or short, quick, simple repetitions of learning protocols. I'm providing you here with a variety of different resources that you can explore further to have a better understanding of what EDU protocols are out there and how you might use them. So now we are going to jump into our instruction part, where I'm going to go through some Google Slides features that you can use as far as creating your EDU protocols or your EDU reps. And I'm quickly going to go through these first couple different ways of adding things to your Google Slides presentation, different features you can use. This is our 4th virtual make and take where we have probably utilized Google Slides or a Google application in some way where we've used these. So I don't want to spend a lot of time re-explaining these, but I have included all the directions as well as animated GIFs or GIFs that explain how to do each of these. So some things that you might find helpful as you're creating your slide for our making part are changing background colors, maybe adding an image as your background, or adding images to your slide. And there are so many other ways other than just using the built-in Google search within Google Slides. And I personally use Noun Project and Flat Icon regularly for finding images, but some of those other ones might serve you better than they do me for the project that you're working on. I will walk through some of the features that I haven't shared yet as far as tools that might be helpful in Google Slides as far as adding to your slide that you will be creating. And that is maybe adding shapes to your slide. And you'll find the shapes icon right on the toolbar. And then you can choose from one of the shapes that appear on the drop-down list. And all you need to do is click and drag to create that shape. I will give you a handy hint here, and that if you hold down the shift button while you're drawing your shape, while you're clicking and dragging, that it will draw a proportionate shape. Another feature is that of using lines, and lines is right up on your toolbar right next to that of shapes. If you click on the drop down arrow just to the right of the line image, you can see that you have several different line styles that you can choose from. So pick whichever one you like, and then you can click and drag to draw your line. And similarly to that of shapes, if you hold down the shift key while you're drawing, it will draw a straight line. And the last feature I will share is that of using tables. And I love using tables on slides simply because I love it when things line up all in a row or all in a column. And tables are a great way to do that because you can have your borders visible, or you can make them white so they just blend in with the background, but your content looks like it's presented in a really nice way. So to add a table, up on the menu bar, simply click on Insert and then choose Table. And then all you need to do is click and drag over how many columns you would like, and then drag down for how many rows, and then it will insert your table on your slide. So let's say at this point you have created your EDU protocol on a Google slide that you are going to share with students for them to complete an EDU Rep or an EDU protocol that you've created. But you want them to keep on adding to this throughout the week or throughout the month, and you don't want to have to keep on creating a different Google slide presentation because, let's be honest, all of our Google Drives right now are probably a hot mess because of all the work that we've done in them over the past 2 years. So what you can do is that you have an option to update student presentations using the Slip and Slide application or the Push Slides to Students application. And what these will allow you to do is to push out slides to student presentations that they've already accessed. There are some limitations with that, so definitely check out those videos and see if it would be a good fit for you in the environment that you are working in virtually. And when sharing these virtual make and takes, I usually like to provide at least 2 different ways of accomplishing this. And I shared Google Slides simply because that is what we are going to be using for our making part so that we can all see what others are creating. Or maybe you have something similar that you've already used and you can just link that on that Google slide. But some other tools that you can use for designing that might be a better fit for you if Google Slides is not quite it are that of Canva, Google Drawings, Slides, Docs, Forms. But I also want to point out there is a powerful presence that paper and pencil provides, so do not discount that as an option, especially if you're working with little students or students who need different accommodations, or you just want to give your students a break from the screen. Paper and pencil is totally fine. So now let's move into our making it portion. So all you need to do is find the content area you would like to explore and click on that to see what computer science EDU reps have been created already. Maybe it will prompt ideas. And as always, for example, if I am a social studies teacher, I encourage you to look at what math and science teachers have done, because there might be different reps or protocols that have been shared there that you can easily adapt to your content area. So don't limit yourself just to what you teach right now. So now I'm going to give you a break from listening to me, and I would like you to actually go ahead and start making your EDU protocol or your EDU rep within one of those slide decks that were shared. And one of the last things that we do is, now that we've made something, we take it. Take a look at what others have done. And maybe this is something that you even did in the making process, that you have found something that someone else has done and could totally adapt it for your classroom, or you know that it would work for something else. Please feel free to take it. Make sure, though, that you do give credit if you're sharing it, especially publicly, that you give credit to the original author. And lastly, the important part, especially if you need sketch credits, is to fill out that evaluation that I have linked here. Now, you came, you saw, you made, and you took, and now I want to know what you think. And when you fill out this evaluation, this is what verifies that you did the activity, and I will use to give you sketch credit. So that is super important. But even if you don't need the sketch credit, I highly recommend you fill out that form, because it gives me valuable feedback. And as always, feel free to reach out if you have any questions, or if this prompts other ideas for you. I'm happy to talk further with you about that. I hope you enjoyed this virtual make and take for this month, and I can't wait to see what you create.